Shalom, 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 Israel, shalom. It's your brother Joshua back with another quick coffee break and a quick exhortation for the brothers and sisters. A quick edifying session for the brothers and sisters. Some of the things that you might need to know in these last days when all hell breaks loose. Right, so we understand it's going to be a time of great destruction. It's going to be a time of great travail, right? So we must be getting prepared in these last days to quote unquote be out in the wilderness, right? But before I kick it off, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh by Shema Mashiach Yahushai, right? And really kind of want to get brothers and sisters' minds kind of turning into things that they may not be thinking about in these last days, as far as when the famine kicks off and when you're on the move, some of the things that you might have to do, like trying to get a meal, prepare a meal for your family. You may be on a run with your family or even by yourself or whatever have you. All hell breaking loose and you might find yourself lost in the wilderness, hid out. You know, it may not have anything to eat for a couple of days, right? You may not come across any animals, you know, any clean animals that you may, you know, capture and kill and be able to make a fire and, you know, prepare these things properly or whatever. You can't go to your mother's house and raid her kitchen and go through a refrigerator. You know, you ain't going to be able to go to, you know, McDonald's and things of that nature, because it's going to be a time where, you know, all hell breaks loose and you're just going to be out there, right? So let me get a real quick precept real quick before I kick it off. Right, this is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 16 and verse 40. It says, "O my people, hear my word. Make you ready to the battle, and in those evils be even as pilgrims upon the earth." So, you know what pilgrims do? They run to and fro. They move to and fro. They always on the move, looking to settle certain places, right? But in that day, he said, be ready for these evils. There's going to be a lot of evil and corruption on the earth that you might not be able to settle in a place more than one night, you know, or a couple of hours or whatever, just to stop, sit down and rest, because you may be on a run from Esau or these other nations or Wicked Jake. You never know, right? And you're looking for shelter, protection, and you're in the wilderness for 2 or 3 or 4 days, you know, however long, you know, the Lord has you out there, right? So, you know, it's going to come a point in time where you're going to have to eat. You have to keep your energy up. You're going to have to feed your body, or you're going to eat yourself, you know, and you're just going to waste away and you're going to die from famine, you know. And like I said, you're not going to be able to approach your local McDonald's or anything like that, because everything is going to be, for lack of a better term, shut down. Things are going to be obsolete in that day, man. The Lord said the full storehouses are going to be empty in that day, right? Let me get a precept on that real quick. Let's stay in the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 6 and verse 22. It says, "And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, and the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty." So a lot of these places, when all hell breaks loose, you know, there's going to be a lot of people raiding these Walmarts or whatever have you. You know what I'm saying? Your Kroger's, your Publix, whatever it is, and there's nothing going to be left. You've seen these movies where, you know, the post-apocalyptic movies where, you know, something happens and you got, soon as, you know, all hell breaks loose, hey, man, everybody run to the store and they start taking everything off the shelves, man. You know what I'm saying? Even when the little so-called pandemic happened, what did people do? Of course, they went to take the daggum toilet paper, you know, but at the same time, man, them shelves were becoming empty. They were coming bare in those days, man. But nevertheless, you know, there's certain things that the average man doesn't think about that is meat for your body. and can be consumed, right? The everyday average so-called plant that you walk by on your daily, walking out the door, going to work, or just walking down the trail at a park or something like that. Certain things that you pass up is actually meat for you to eat, right? The Lord actually created certain plants, right, and certain grasses that you can eat, right? Herbs that you didn't know about, fruits that you didn't know that it was meat for you to eat, right? And the Lord created these things from the beginning, right? Let's get this precept in the book of Genesis real quick. It's the book of Genesis chapter 1 and verse 11, and it says, "And the Most High said, let the earth bring forth grass, and the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth, and it was so. And the earth brought forth grass and herb, and yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind. And the Most High saw that it was good." Right? So these things were good for the use, right? For what? The use of the eyes, of beauty, smell, the beautiful aroma, and also it was used for meat, right? Let's get a jump down to verse number 29, right? In Genesis 29, it says, "And the Most High said, Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of the tree, yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat." Right? So there are certain plants and things that were created, right? The trees, the grasses, the flowers, all these things, roots, they were made for you to consume, for the nourishment of your bodies, and also for your medical uses as well, right? Natural medical uses. These things were created for you, right? So I'm just going to go through about 10 plants, right, that you may not have known was edible for you, right? That through a famine, or you being called out in the wilderness alone, or whatever, some things that you can consume to keep you alive in these last days, right? So let's get a little education, right? The first one I want to bring up is the common dandelion, right? The common dandelion, right? Which looks something like this, right? Let's see if you can see that. The common dandelion, right? That's what that looks like when you see the dandelion, right? And those that didn't know, this plant is edible for your consumption, man. You can eat this thing, right? So let's read a little bit on the dandelion. It says, "The dandelion is the most recognizable plant there is growing in nearly every climate in North America. Like clover, dandelion can be found in even the snow. They can even produce a flower during a warm snap in the middle of the winter. All parts of the plant, including the roots, can be eaten raw. You can also boil them, which will make them less bitter. Roots can be roasted over the fire, and all the parts of the plant, including the flower, can be used to make tea. Dandelion is the most nutritious of plants that you can find in the wild, containing a high amount of vitamin C, vitamin A, carotene, vitamin K, potassium, and calcium. Dandelions are also high in fiber, which can help you stay full longer, right? So a dandelion is a mighty root, a mighty plant that you can use when you're in the wild for your consumption. If you ever fall into a situation of a famine or being caught out in the wild and you have nothing to eat, hey, look for you some dandelion, man, and you will be good. And this is one of the most common plants that you find in your backyard, your front yard, your schoolyard, where you work at, all these things. And it's full of vitamins, man, right, that can help you carry on, right? So let's go to another plant. This is the chicory. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but chicory, right? Let's show you what this looks like, right? right? Salaki for the pronunciation, right? But this is the chicory plant, right? Nice purple color, right? And let's read about the chicory. It says, is it similar in appearance to a dandelion, but has some obvious differences. Like a dandelion, chicory can have a milky sap when you cut the leaf, and they will likely have a fuzzy midrib, right? A midrib of the underside. Chicory, however, will have tall, almost woody-like, right, Shalakia, almost woody-like flower stalks from the year before and can reach over 4 feet. Chicory grows in all parts of North America and is commonly seen along roadside in the spring with its pale blue and purple blossoms. All parts of the chicory are edible, although young tender leaves are best eaten raw. Boil them can reduce their bitterness and increase their sweetness, much like bitter greens from the market. So, hey, man, there's something like greens. So I know Jake and Eve really like they eating greens, man, all the time. They eat mama's greens. So, hey, this might be something that you would like. And it says, you can easily find chicory in the wintertime by looking for it in dry flower stalks. Many times there will be young tender growth even under the snow. Roots can be roasted much like those of the dandelion. Chicory can also be mixed with the dandelion for nutrient-packed meal, right? So that's another mighty plant that you can look into, right? I'll give you another look at that, right? Check that out, right? So let's go to another mighty plant. Salakia, this is the plantain, right? The plantain plant, right? Let's check that out. See what that look like. Lord willing, y'all can see that, right? That's what that looks like. It says the plantain, commonly found in meadows. Plantain can be found throughout most of North America. Plantain is very recognizable with its wide, oval, and ribbed leaves. While all parts of the plantain can be eaten raw, it is best eaten boiled. The seeds can also be eaten raw or cooked. Plantains have a similar and nutritional content to the dandelion, right? Being high in iron, other vitamins, and minerals, man. Right? So a lot of these plants are not just good for meat. It's good for medicine, good for your health, right? To restore you to health when you get sick and things of that nature. And the Lord created these things out of the earth just for you, right? Let me get a precept real quick. The book of Sirach, right? Chapter 38 and I'll read verse 4. And it says, the Lord hath created medicines out of the earth, and he that is wise would not abhor them. Right? So the Lord created medicines out of the earth, right? These plants, these various different herbs and things of that nature that is meat and use for the health of your body. So brothers and sisters got to start looking into these things, right? And especially before all hell starts breaking loose. You know, something that you can run up on when you out there as a pilgrim on the earth, running from Esau or whatever, or being out in the wilderness for a week or so by yourself. You know, you can keep yourself going with these things, right? And you got to be wise when you're moving, so you can't eat anything, right? Mess around and get poisoned and pass out and die. And you don't want to do that, right? So let's get another one real quick. This is a marathon, right? Lord Salaki for the pronunciation, man. Right? I'm gonna let you check this out. Well, my reading skills ain't good today, but right. So it says, commonly known as pigweed in North America, Ameritha is the staple of Indian and African diets. Ameritha is highly nutritious, being packed with folic acid, protein, minerals, and vitamins. Tender leaves can be eaten raw or boiled into a soup. Seeds can be eaten raw or roasted and can also be ground into flour. Pigweed is one of the first to sprout in the spring and can be found throughout all of North America, right? So this thing is commonly known, right? Everywhere. And it's called the pigweed. Amaranth, aka the pigweed, right? So that's something mighty to look after, right? Let's go to another one. And this is porcelain, right? It's a porcelain plant. All right, let's check this out. All right. Check that out. So let's see what this is about, right? It says, this low-growing, succulent-like plant is commonly thought of as a weed, but this inconspicuous plant is packed with nutrients, can thrive in poor soil, and is widely available from summer to fall. It is important to properly identify this plant before consumption, as it can be confused with the toxic hairy-stemmed purge. See, I just got done saying that. You got to pay attention and make your diligent search and figure out what it is, because some of these plants can look similar to one another and can easily be confused, right? So reading that again, it says, important to properly identify the plant before consumption, as it can be confused with the toxic hairy-stemmed purge. Porcelain can be eaten raw or boiled with other herbs. It is rich in omega-3 fatty acids and is naturally antibacterial. Porcelain can be found growing in the wild range and inhabits from extremely dry plants to meadows and foothills, right? So you can find this pretty much anywhere. So it says dry plants in meadows and foothills, right? So you got to properly identify this porcelain plant and don't mistake it for the hairy stem purge, okay? So let's go to the other one. This is the wood sorrel, right? The wood sorrel, right? Let's check that one out, right? See what that looked like, right? Let's read about this one. The wood sorrel is typically found in moist soil and partial shade. It is prevalent in the forest floors, growing near wild violets, clovers, and wild onions. Wood sorrels are very refreshing to eat, with a mild flavor that somewhat resembles cactus or citrus. All parts of the plant can be eaten raw, mixed with other wild plants, boiled, or made into a tea. Right? So it has a citrus taste. Right? Definitely can eat it raw. And sometimes it can be made into a tea. So that's another beautiful plant that you can look for on your journeys. And it grows near wild onions. Right? So let's find another one. So this is asparagus. Now we know what this is. Asparagus, right? That's what it looks like when it's growing. Right? Check that out. Right? And it says wild asparagus can commonly be found near water sources and low-lying areas. Asparagus can easily be identified by the previous year's drained stock. Wild asparagus is best eaten raw when it is still tender, before it has started to branch out. So you can pluck that fresh out the ground and, hey, man, go to work, man. Wash that thing off and go to work. Asparagus, right? And the next one is clover, right? I'm gonna get a couple more, right? This is clover leaf, right? We all know what clovers are, right? Those that don't know what clovers are, that's what you're looking at right there. Clovers, right? Let's read about the clover. The clover is a common plant found throughout much of North America. It is easily to spot with the trifoil leaflets, low growth habit, and tendencies to grow in large patches in low-lying and grassy areas. Clovers can have either white or pink flowers and completely green leaves, or green leaves with white accents. All plants of the clover plant are edible throughout the younger shoots, and the flowers are the tastiest. They can be eaten raw, boiled, or made into a soothing tea. Older flowers and foliage can be on the bitter side. Clovers can provide a good source of protein, which is essential in any survival situation. Clover also provides a variety of minerals such as sodium, potassium, and calcium. Clover can be found in all seasons of the year. Even when the ground is snow covered, you can find these tender greens. Many times deer and other herbivores will seek it out and can be seen hoofing in the snow away from the ground. So, hey, this is a beautiful thing, and everybody can find clovers anywhere, right? You walk outside and you step on clovers wherever they at, man. They all over the ground. So these are edible plants, and it says it's good in, essential survival, right? Potassium, sodium, calcium, all that, So that's a beautiful plant, right? Let's get two more, right? This is burdock, right? Burdock, right here. Let's check out burdock, right? Check that out, right? That's what burdock looks like, right? So let's read about burdock. And it says, burdock is another common plant found throughout North America and commonly thought as a weed. Burdock was actually an ingredient in an original root beer. Wow, that's cool. I didn't know that. It is biannual, and it is easy identified with its tall structure and perfectly round dark purple flowers. The roots are the most common part of the plant that is eaten. They are high in fiber, typically boiled or roasted before eaten. Burdock has natural antibacterial and antifungal properties as well, right? My reading is kind of slow today. Shalakia is real, right? But burdock has a natural antibacterial and antifungal properties as well. So I'm kind of hip on the burdock root, man, right? That's a pretty mighty plant to get into right there, man, right? So let's get one more, right? Let's get cattails, right? This is cattails right here, right? That's what that looks like, cattails, right? And it reads, cattails are probably the last thing you would think of eating, but if you find cattails, you have found everything you need to survive. Food, water, and shelter. Cattails are one of those plants that everyone can spot, making for an easy find if you are in a right area. They are found in low-lying areas where water collects, as well as round edges and water bodies. The green tops and stalk bases around most commonly eaten part, and the plant typically being boiled or grilled. They are high in vitamin A and in C, as also as fiber, right? So that's the mighty cattail, right? So look that up, right? Next time you're out, see if you can find that. So these are mighty plants that you can put in your arsenal, man, and study up. So if you ever get caught out there, man, in a time of trouble, in the wilderness, on the run, or facing famine, these are 10 plants that you can turn into food, right? And health for your body in the last days. So with that, I hope it was edifying and educational, something you can use and something that you think about in these last days, right? We're giving our honor and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Shalom.